Welcome to My Big Story with Christopher Swan, the weekly show where I talk with amazing people about their story. A story that includes creating a life that they love, living a life of intention, and where we can learn from their stories. This week, I stayed local in my town of Petaluma, California, in the Sonoma County Wine Country. And I had Emery and Sarah Meeks on the show, the founders of Sarah's Eats and Sweets. I met the two of them back at the beginning of the year when I stopped by their new shop. I was instantly won over by their welcoming friendship and, of course, their food. Sarah's Eats and Sweets is part cafe, part bake shop, with a focus on locally sourced ingredients, in-house preparations, original recipes, and most notably, a welcoming experience that treats everyone as a friend and family. Also, this shop has the brilliance of a classically trained chef and the warmth and experience of a master relationship builder. Sarah and Emery have created something special for them and their community. That's why I wanted to talk to them. They're a great example of starting something with meaning while becoming part of the community they live and work within. So many times we hear guests on shows that are changing the world with their nonprofit or a new idea and so on. Those are amazing stories, but great stories and change also happen at the community level, around the corner in a shop. That's Sarah's. They're making great food, supporting other small businesses, and helping their community prosper, all while creating a life that they love. And as Emery mentioned to me, if you love what you do, you won't work a day in your life. Everyone, meet Emery and Sarah. Sarah and Emery, it's so good to have you on the show today.
Thank you for having us. We're really excited.
Hi, Chris.
Hi. Does it almost feel weird that we're doing this? Like I've been coming in as a customer for a while and now all of a sudden we're sitting down.
Yeah, and we listen to you sometimes too. So I'm like,
I love it. It feels like we're just hanging out. It's on a regular day. Like
that's kind of what we were talking about today is like, oh, it's just Chris. He comes in, we talk to him. We're just going to talk to him again.
Yeah. Now he's just going to record it.
Yep, exactly.
That's awesome. I'm glad this worked out. This is so much fun. And I'm glad that we're also sitting in the cafe and bakery or bake shop. Actually, what do you guys actually refer to your place as?
I call it the shop when I'm just talking about it. Like, where am I going? Oh, I'm going down to the shop. But I explain it to people as a cafe and bakery. Yep.
Okay. I've seen it written a couple different times. And I saw somebody called it deli and I was like, is it? Sort of.
Some deli options, some breakfast options. Some
we're a little bit of everything.
Soups.
That's what I like about it, actually, is that it isn't just that one thing.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different.
Try to have a pretty diverse, option, a bunch of options that are fun for everybody,
Yeah. So you've heard enough of my shows, and I'm sure that this will resonate when I tell you this. So there are certain reasons why I want to talk to people, and I ask them to be guests on the show. One of those things that I always look for is there has to be something special about the people. And I think you guys definitely have that. And you can see that in you, and you can see that in your business. So that's my perspective, though.
Well, it's exciting to hear.
Yeah,
we want to be special.
That's actually how I'm going to start this. I want to know, do you guys see that? Do you see that there's something special with Sarah's?
I think that the whole reason we did it, or we're enjoying it and it's working, is because it's special. Because people come in and I'm Sarah and I'm here and I'm cooking and I answer the phone and I'm like, oh, thanks for calling Sarah's. This is Sarah. People are like, oh, wow, I'm actually talking to Sarah.
Every time.
Are you going to cook my breakfast? I'm like, well, actually, yes, I am. And they get really excited about it. And Emery and his personality and, he loves talking to people and entertaining our customers. And when people come in here, it's you coming into our home, It's not just you going into a...
More than just customers, they're really like I feel like they're our guests. It's like you come into my house, and I want your experience to be, just a good one. I want you to have a good time and be comfortable here, and not feel that you're just getting a sandwich from some guy behind the counter, and then thanks for your money. See you later. I want to know how your day is. What you do in town, or I'm always interested in everybody that comes in and want them to feel good, feel comfortable.
Yeah, I think that's really evident with you, especially as
more of an experience than just coming to get a sandwich.
Because there's a lot of sandwiches in town. There's a lot of places to eat in town, and we want to be different. We want to feel good.
And also, Petaluma is really special like that. And Petalumans support that. They would much rather come here. I mean, obviously, I think our food is delicious, but I think people would still come here even if some place might have something that they like more, in terms of they like the flavor more or food more or whatever, but they come here for the experience. And because when Emery, when you walk in the door, Emery is like, oh, hey, how are you doing? I know your name. How's your, this project you're working on that you talked to me about last time? And they're like amazed that he remembers that, So it is. It means
a lot to us that someone, people work hard for the money and that they're willing to come and enjoy, some of Sarah's food and that, it's just cool. It's a cool thing to watch unfold and how it's happened, because we didn't put a lot into advertising or do a lot of marketing to get this thing going. We really just kind of opened and.
Well, before we jump in too far on that, let me ask this question too. I've been really curious about when I've read a lot about Sarah's background as well. And I'm going to dive into that a little bit, but I was really curious about why open a cafe and bake shop though? Like, first of all, why open it? And then why not something else like a restaurant or another kind of business?
The very basic reason of why we opened this is because Emery and I love each other very much and we want to spend every day together. And
we had off schedules.
I was working late nights and we weren't seeing each other a lot. And, I'm a workaholic. So if he wanted to see me, he has to come here. We have to work together. Yeah. So that's really why we decided to open a business.
Okay.
And then why open like this type of cafe instead of a full restaurant? For me is that we wanted something that people could eat all the time, like something that you want to eat several times a week. We wanted it to be, just like a neighborhood spot and a little bit more casual. And
does it give you different options as well? Because you do so many things in-house, like you brine your meats, you smoke your meats, you do all these different things, but you could probably do it still opposite a restaurant. But I think in a restaurant, like a full-fledged dinner, lunch, that sort of thing, you're super busy.
Definitely. You're super busy. And also kind of like what I was talking about before, where Sarah's here, she's cooking, I'm cooking. It's, I don't have a chef. I don't have, if I had a bigger restaurant, I would need to have more other people cooking food. And it wouldn't necessarily be.
Would that take away then from the stuff that you actually want to participate in?
I think it does. So. Yeah. I mean, I get a lot of joy from cooking and I also put a lot of love into the food. And I think, and I'm a true believer that you can taste that.
Yeah. I do too.
You can't just follow a recipe and have it taste the same.
No. Well, Sarah, your name is attached, obviously, to the name of your business, both your businesses here. So, and you're attached to the food, clearly.
Yes.
And so, Emery, obviously, you're a big partner in this business. You guys are doing it together. I've been wondering a little bit of not just the basic piece of the experience that we just talked about. Like, clearly, you're the guy in the front here that's greeting people and stuff. But I'm wondering, where does the work connect and where is it separated for the two of you? Like, does Emery participate in some of the food?
Emery, I like to call Emery my idea man. If I'm ever stuck on a special or, I'm working on something new, he's always got the answer for he's just very creative in that aspect. And, also like quality control too.
This is true.
Emery will be my biggest critic.
Oh, really?
Those muffins are not tall enough. They're not coming over the muffin liners. So,
are you the taster as well?
Oh yeah, well, quality control.
Well, see, when I heard quality control, I was like, oh, the taster.
The taster.
How was this sandwich tasting this week? Let me get extra bacon on that.
But as we've been talking about, is the experience is a huge part of this for us, and Emery really makes it.
I want their experience when they come into the dining room to be as good as the food that she's making, which is hard to keep up with. So I want, that's why I want everyone to be happy, and I want, and I'm genuinely interested in their day and what's going on and how they've been. It just means a lot. And I've also become friends with a lot of these people, like you, Chris. You came in, and and we can probably talk a little bit about how you found out about us. But
that's right.
When you first came in, I just had a great connection with you. We had a really nice conversation. We talked about the podcast, asking what you do, and I'm obviously listening to a lot of podcasts. So it's a cool connection that we first made, and I have a lot of
we've met a lot of cool people.
Yeah, a lot of people in this community through the same thing. Rather than, like I said, just here's your sandwich, nice to see you. It's, hey, how's it going? What do you do, and how long have you been doing this? And it's kind of like I'm doing what you're doing. This podcast, kind of just a little interview, I guess you'd say. And
it is. It's true because you are very curious.
I am.
Yeah.
I am.
He asks people about themselves. And
maybe some people aren't into it. I can tell when someone wants to look down at their phone and they're, come on, guy, don't talk to me.
Why is this guy talking?
Why is this guy so chatty? But
I just want a sandwich.
But most people love it, and they want to talk to him, and they get super excited about it.
And
did you guys set out to do that initially when you thought about we want to open this place? Let's create this new experience, or just
not
welcoming?
Necessarily, but Emery is just that person, and it just happened kind of naturally for him.
Were you able to pause at one moment and say, "Oh, that makes us a little bit different," or to play into it a little bit further, like, "Hey, we're on to something here. We're building something."
Definitely, because we talk about work all the time.
Well, sure, you probably live and breathe it.
And at one point, I was like, "Hey, what's really great is that when anybody walks in the door, we say hello, and when anybody walks out the door, we say goodbye. Let's make sure that we're doing that." But a lot of it, just came naturally.
And I can see that, especially with Emery.
I just appreciate that.
I feel like I want to do like a video of him, just like in action one day, so that like the listeners of this could really see what Emery's like.
I know,
because it's just part of your personality. Clearly,
I appreciate that. I really do, and I hear that a lot. That thank you for that. Thank you for the cookie. My little kid, they're having a rough day, and hey, can you have a cookie? And moms or dads, people just appreciate that it's going the extra mile. And
what was kind of funny about that is we have some of our part-time employees are teenagers, so I was joking with them about that Emery was trending on Yelp.
Wait,
it's like, what do people talk about? The chicken soup, the brownies, Emery.
That's
so
probably
silly.
True.
Oh, it's so silly.
Yeah.
Not really though, but that is part of the brand.
Exactly.
Hey, so I'm going to take a flashback a little bit, and this is directed to you, Sarah.
Yeah.
So I know that you went to school originally for hospitality.
I did. I got a bachelor's in hospitality administration from Cornell. University. Yep.
I'm wondering, how did you go from that into the food industry? Like, what even brought you there? Not just the
So it's funny.
logistics.
I started Cornell as a pre-med major. I was going to be a doctor.
I can see how this all connected now. Yeah.
I did that for 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So I took biology, chemistry. I got to, I think it was organic chemistry or physics or something. And I was just like, what? This is terrible. Am I going to really study for the next, 10 years of my life?
Yeah.
And I just wasn't enjoying it. And it's funny because I dropped that class and I was living in a house with 5 other girls. And I said, hey, if everybody gives me some money, I'll start making dinner. So
really?
I made dinner for everyone. And then they were all like, Sarah, why aren't you in the hotel school? Because there was a hotel school at Cornell. So I said, all right. And I walked down to the hotel school and said, well, I think I want to switch schools because Cornell is divided into schools. There is a culinary aspect to that school as well. So I actually started working in my first kitchen there. There's a hotel attached to the school and all the students work at the hotel. And I started working in the kitchen there and then eventually became like the assistant to the executive chef of that hotel kitchen. And I ran all the student employees. And
was that your idea then when you were looking into the hospitality, was the food aspect of it?
Yes, it was cooking. Okay. I love to cook. I've always loved to cook. When I was 2 years old, my mom used to put me in my high chair and she would give me the carrot peels and all the other, trash, quote unquote, and a plastic knife, and I would make soup.
And that's your chicken soup today.
Actually, not a funny thing is that's what I make my chicken soup out of today is our carrot peels and our celery ends.
Like I knew. So did you know then? I mean, I'm just curious about
I didn't see this then.
Yeah.
I didn't. I definitely didn't. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do.
But you were definitely on a journey though, right?
I was on a journey. I was on a journey to learn as much as I could about this business. And that's really what the rest of my, path that led me here was, every job I had from then till now was a different aspect of the food and beverage industry and taught me something different.
Were you trying to discover things that you really enjoyed? Was it about just learning different aspects, figuring out your niche?
It was a little bit of like just wanting to know everything and wanting to master everything. And I'm like, well, I don't really know how to do this, so let's get a job as a pastry chef because I don't know how to bake. And so that's kind of like how it went along.
Because that brought you over to, I know, Northern California.
So I finished my bachelor degree, and then I took a year. I worked at the Four Seasons in Philadelphia, and that was in front of house. So I wore a suit, and I, had to talk to people, which is not really like, which is why I have Emery talking to people now. But, I was a manager of the bar and lounge in the hotel, and I was out there on the floor, entertaining guests and making sure everybody was happy and dealing with problems. And again, learning that, mastering that front of house aspect of hospitality. And I realized after a year that was not my cup of tea, that I wanted to be in the kitchen.
That's a great actually way to do it as well. I think some people may look at these opportunities as like, oh, well, that didn't work out, or I didn't know what I was doing, like your med school. In fact, that was okay. Not that you need permission from me, but it was, if you look at it like, oh, that was just me exploring.
Definitely.
Right? And now, and I know, and we won't go through all of it, but I know you've gone to the Culinary Institute. You've had multiple different wonderful jobs throughout this region as well, doing all these things you talk about. I want to jump forward just a little bit too, because what I'm really also curious about bringing Emery back into this is you guys then met at some point in the Napa Valley, I think.
So I went to culinary school. I moved to California to go to culinary school. Then I started working at a Michelin star restaurant in Yountville, and Emery's roommate was a cook there as well.
Oh, okay.
And so one night I was actually moving him into your house. And we were going to go to the bar.
Go grab a couple of drinks.
Yeah. And it was funny because on the way there, his roommate, who was my buddy, was like, oh, you're gonna love this guy. You're going to marry him one day, probably. I'm like, oh, come on, whatever. So I say, we're going out. And Emery jumped up and was like, oh, I'm coming with you guys.
In my PJs playing video games, by the way. I'm like, oh, I'm ready. Was it? Threw out some clothes.
Yeah. So he came out with us, and that was...
We haven't stopped hanging out ever since, actually.
Yeah.
From that point when you guys met, I'm curious about at what point, and I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but I'm really curious about at what point did this idea that we should work together and come up with this kind of business?
It was a while. Emery, when we first met, you were working at Visa Tui.
Winery in St. Helena.
And that's kind of where the customer service knowledge comes from.
Because you were doing like wine tasting, customer service.
Yeah, so we were together... 3 years before we got married? We got married, and then, we were realizing
you're spending these time apart.
That we're spending a lot of time apart, and that we wanted to spend more time together.
Especially on Fridays and Saturdays with catering gigs. She wouldn't come home till 1, 2 in the morning. I'm doing, a 9 to 5 job. During the day, we just had opposite schedules. It was bumming us out.
Yeah, and that's really I think it was just kind of random, actually.
And people think we're crazy. A lot of people are like, why did you wanted to work next to each other?
You want to work together?
It's like this little inside joke.
It is true. Some really enjoy it and some do not.
Yeah.
And I see that. I can see that from a lot of people, but she's my best friend and it's easy. This has been amazing. This whole thing has just been so much fun, and we're just blessed that we've gotten even to this point.
But I don't know that there was even I think it was just like hey, let's just open up a restaurant.
Yeah.
Were you catering at this point?
I was. So
catering. You were already doing some pieces before.
Yeah. And I was working for a big catering company, and then we actually randomly got some catering jobs on our own. A friend of mine was like, oh, hey, there's somebody who needs a dinner done, and my company can't do it. Can you do it? So Emery and I did it together, and it was actually really fun. And
was that almost like the first taste of we could do stuff together?
It was.
That was a good time.
So we did a few of those 4-course dinners for 6 to 8 people, just the two of us. And Emery was serving and setting up the table, and I was cooking, and it was hey, we could do something like this,
I don't know what part of the story this is in, but I read something about you guys started out even with this idea of before opening this, you were at the farmer markets
Yes.
and you were, selling baked goods and you were, but also there's a great piece to that, which it makes me almost think this is I'm sure, Sarah, you're part of this, but I could almost see this as an Emery thing. Like, this is a great marketing avenue, and he could talk to people.
Well, Emery called it farmers marketing.
Oh,
yes.
No wonder.
Yeah.
I could see this guy doing this. So how does that part play into this farmer's market and part of the story, and why were you doing it?
Well, we signed the lease on this place here, and we needed to do some work on it. And we didn't realize it was going to take 8 months, but it took 8 months. So
it was a 2-month project that turned into...
We were like, oh, hey, we'll go do a couple of farmers markets.
Get our name out there, shake some hands, and just let people know what we're doing. Show some of Sarah's
Ended up doing farmers markets for 8 months.
And actually, the people at the farmers market would wait in line before we set up to buy a lot of Sarah's baked goods before we even opened. She was so popular there that we had a little following, before we even opened this place.
Do you, even though it wasn't a planned thing to do it that long, do you think it worked in your favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And why do you think so?
Definitely.
The people that came and enjoyed our food, the guests, and then also the relationships we made with the other vendors. We met so many cool
really
people in this
true.
town, and they were going. Some of them were going to the same store we were, trying to open up a restaurant or open up a retail store, or even just open up a booth like we were. So it was cool to see, that we're all in this whole collective.
We're like on the boat together.
On the boat
and
together.
We found a lot of our vendors that way, and
Fruits.
Also, we kind of
farmers.
figured out. We were talking about before. How do we make it special? And we kind of figured out how to make it special at the farmers market. Like the talking to guests and the getting involved. That kind of evolved that way as well. So we kind of got our rhythm down.
I want to talk a little bit about the vendors too, because I think it's actually important to mention that if not all, I think it's all, if not all, most of it, of your ingredients and produce and all those things are from local vendors.
Yeah,
so I want to know how do you integrate that, or what was the conscious decision to integrate local vendors, or how do you partner with that local community?
I think it was, you can't not get local ingredients being
we
in
are
Sonoma County.
Spoiled for vegetables and fruits and.
It's it would actually be harder to not have local products probably. But yeah, we made friends with our coffee comes from this other young couple who's very similar to us. They opened up a shop in Sebastopol on the very same day that we opened our shop. And they were at the
same day?
Yeah,
Same
isn't that
exact
funny?
day.
No, I didn't know that.
And we were at the farmers market across the road from each other, our little booths, and we kind of went through the whole process together. And yeah, now we sell their coffee, but we're not only passionate about it because it's good coffee, but because we know the people behind it, and they're good people, and they actually sell our meat.
Oh.
Yeah, so they make turkey sandwiches with our turkey. They actually just started picking up some pastrami.
It just seems like a natural decision to do it because you're like, gosh, they're our friends now. But it also seems like it was a learning opportunity for all of you guys to do stuff together and to you built a new community within this community of food vendors, kind of doing your own thing together and helping each other back and forth. Is that true?
It definitely is. It gives you somebody to bounce ideas off of, to talk about trials and tribulations to. Not only them, but there was the Sonoma Spice Queen. She has a little shop downtown. We became really close with her. I use a lot of her spices now. She was building a kitchen at the same point that we were. So we were kind of going through that process together. So no, it wasn't just about, buying product from each other. It's a lot more to it.
Have you guys heard the phrase community over competition? And
I haven't, but that's a good one.
Yeah, I like that. That sounds like exactly where we're at.
A phrase that's been going around a lot too with, I think, smaller entrepreneurs I've read online. And one of our guests has even said something about it. And he really teaches that community over competition, because he says there's enough to go around. He's
It's true.
Back in the day, he's like, when we were in the heydays of maybe the 80s and the 90s, it was all about taking down your competition. But he's like, we don't need to work that way anymore. There's enough pie for everybody. Do you guys look at it kind of that way as well, even without maybe labeling it that way?
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so many other places in town you can get a sandwich at. We're not trying to compete with them. We just want to be part of that. And
we were kind of saying to each other, when we were doing like our market research, we would sit in front of all the other sandwich shops and other places and count people per hour and everything. And we were saying, you know, if we could just be, you know, you're once a week, we get you coming in once a week. So you go to that place once a week. You can't go everywhere every day. We do have some people who come in every day.
Really? Yes, we do.
Definitely we do. But, you know, if we can, you know, if you can go somewhere once a week, that would be great. That's ideal. So,
do you think that was also part of what has helped you guys out here, was a community aspect versus the competition? Like if you did it the other way around, it maybe wouldn't have been as successful.
Oh, 100%. Because I think I even said this before, but Petaluma, that is the essence of Petaluma is community, you know, and for, you know, I'm sure you saw that article that Houston Porter wrote about us in the Argus. He came to me and he said, you have been so, you know, you guys have been so involved in the community. I want to give back to you and write this great article about you so that people know about you and you have great success.
Yeah. That's so great.
Incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just to even say it, you know, for them to say that too.
And
it really felt good.
Yeah. And it's, he that's what Houston is, not necessarily in my mind, a food critic, food writer. He's a community supporting food writer. And if you support the community will support you.
You think that's a good lesson for anybody else who's opening something or doing something to think about?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we've had some people come in with their grand ideas and we say, okay, good luck with that, you know? Because if you come in boasting about yourself, Petaluma is not gonna respond well to that, you know?
I'd almost even take Petaluma off and say you could probably apply that to a lot of communities.
Definitely.
Yeah. Because it's about the people supporting and connecting.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, nobody wants a show off that nobody knows about.
Exactly.
No.
Yeah. We didn't only do the farmers markets, we also did a lot of fundraisers too.
Well, I did see you've done multiple events, like like the chili cook-off
and mac and cheese challenge and all these things, you know, support.
I was bummed that I didn't know that you guys did the mac and cheese earlier, because that's like a food group for me.
Oh, man.
I was like, oh, yeah.
All right, well, next time I have it on special, we'll have to...
Yeah, let me know.
We'll put it on blast for you. But you know, those things all supported particular, you know, we supported the animal shelter, and, you know, the chili cook-off supports the Cinnabar Theater, which does like community theater and things for children. So
there's a elementary school down the street. We just donated a bunch of baked goods, and they made over $1,000 for their 6th grade camp.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
well, let me ask this, just because this is the cynical question, which I'm not the cynical guy, but I think people may think about this too. Like, that's a great marketing ploy. You know, like, of course, why wouldn't you do that? But it also sounds like, you got to kind of take maybe that marketing lens out of that and say, just do what feels right and be part of something. You're not doing it just because, sure, you're going to meet people and people are going to come eat your food. You're doing it because it matters.
Definitely.
Is that true?
Yeah,
100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I was poor growing up, and those kind of fundraisers helped me go to a camp or go to a field trip, and you know, just being able to support that, it means a lot, and you know, it does mean a lot. And there's actually another teacher from Casa Grande down the street that comes every week on Saturday and picks up all our leftovers for the week and donates to the faculty, to the students, to other teachers, and
just people who need some
people
food.
that need some food. And
we were throwing some stuff away. So,
you know, and, you know,
she helped
take it home and
us
try to eat it, and
get rid of some food, and we're helping other people, you know.
And it's incredible. It really is.
I want to talk about, now that you've been open for 6 months, or wait, is it 6 months? Just about, right?
Just about, yeah.
Is there anything that surprised you since then, like since opening?
Yeah, actually, that we have such a big following so far, that we have so many repeat guests, and people say, oh, I've heard about you from so-and-so, and I had to come here. And that it is, I don't know why it is, but it is surprising that we've been able to
the positivity.
The positivity of it, and all the good feedback we've been getting from everybody. It means a lot. Sarah works really, really hard, and it's showing.
We work hard too.
But it shows. It shows in the quality for food and the quality of the people's experience.
What about you, Sarah? Anything different that's surprised you over the last 6 months?
I think it's just it's kind of the fact that it is what we wanted it to be. You know, it happened.
Yeah.
It just happened. You know, I thought we'd be in here twiddling our thumbs and have to go, you know, walk around the business park handing out menus, but we don't have time to do that. We're busy. And
why did you guys think that you thought, like, maybe, did you just think it was going to be tough? I mean,
we thought it was going to be hard. I mean, and it is hard. I'm not saying it's easy and that everybody can do it, but we thought it was going to be a little harder to get people in here. And we didn't think that there were going to be people that come in every day or every week or.
Why did you guys think that? Was it just things that you'd heard, you'd seen?
What is it? The restaurant fails in the first year, and or it doesn't do well, you know, then that's it. You know,
yeah, like 90% of restaurants fail
there you go.
in the first 3 months, you know, whatever.
But yeah, exactly. that you know, you hear that stuff.
Yeah. And also people, we got a lot of people who would be like, "Oh, you're opening a restaurant? Good luck. Good luck with that." You know, so you start to doubt.
You know, it's more than just grandma's recipes. You have she has a pretty, you know, you have a pretty good idea what you wanted to do with this and how to manage it and how to, you know, how to get it going.
Yeah, people kind of looked at us, I think, at some point when they're just, you know, here's a young couple of kids trying to do something. You know, good luck.
Did that weigh on you guys at all, the doubters?
Yeah, a little bit. And Emery's very sensitive.
That is why we get along.
See?
I am very sensitive as well.
I am.
For anybody who's listening, it's a superpower. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise,
right,
Sarah.
Right, Chris.
Sorry. He gave away his secrets.
I know.
Right. He's like, wait, nobody knew that. Emery, I want to ask you about your world before all of this.
Yeah.
So you guys are together. You're working in the one job that we talked about was some of the wine tasting and customer service and pieces. So this wasn't even a dream yet, right? This wasn't even an idea that you guys are going to work together, open a business. And so what did you have in your future that you thought you were going to be doing? Because I'm not sure if it was this exactly.
It wasn't actually. My best friends started an online business. They sell high-end massage chairs out of Las Vegas, and they're one of the biggest retailers online, and I was helping them out. It was going to be a big big part of that. I was helping doing all their online marketing for their videos. I was their customer service representative, you know, ordering, and that was what I was doing. They were actually going to bring me on and probably be a part of the company. Actually, was the next step. And Sarah kind of came up with this, and I said, "All right, guys, listen up. I think I'm going to have to back out." And it was another thing that was really, really scary, actually, because I had something going on that could have been. They are doing very well, and I want to do this with my wife, and she was like really adamant about me joining, and you know, it's okay, you leave your job and join.
Well, I don't think I could have done this without you at all. Because, you know, as we were talking about, he's an integral part of the experience too, and his support for me is, I definitely wouldn't have been able to do it without him.
Now that you've been doing it for a while, Emery, and that you have this kind of different, maybe experiential lens that you're looking at stuff, has that changed the thinking about things that you love, or maybe shown you something different that you didn't see before?
You know, I think one thing it showed me is that, you know, how much I love this town and how amazing the people are here. I didn't know these characters and all these people that I've met. You know what I mean? This town has got a lot of fun people here. There's some really cool
not
people.
Not even a negative word of characters, but it's great.
I'm one of them. I'm a character here too. I know that. You know, Petalumans are a different group, that's for sure. And I wasn't getting to experience that. I was talking to people across the country on a little call center, you know, for my friend's company, but it wasn't face to face. I'm face to face with these people, and we were just at a restaurant yesterday morning, and I saw at least 3 or 4 people that we know from our, you know, and really? I wave at them, give them a smile, and that's cool that I can do that now. And I think where I was doing before, I wouldn't be as part of the community as I am now. I would be more hidden, and I wouldn't take that back for anything. I love it.
How has this changed the rest of your life? Because let me give you the context of this, right? So we talked all about business, but you guys are doing this together. You're a couple. I know you live and breathe it, and I'm sure you're talking about it at home all the time. You're like, there's probably not separation. But you're doing your own thing, and that's really different than like working for somebody else. Has this changed any other aspects of your life, like a balance or created new meaning or value or things like that?
Well, I think it's just the fact that it's not really a job. It's our life. You know, it's our life. It's our lives. It's just it. This isn't work. It integrates, you know, our money making into our lives.
But for as hard as it is, it doesn't feel like, you know, you always hear that, what is that? If you love what you do, you never work a day in your life.
Sure.
I'm living that right now.
Yeah.
And I never thought I would ever, you know, you always, I got to go to work for the man. And I am working for the man.
For the man.
For the woman. Actually.
I was like, that means you, Sarah.
Yeah.
I saw the code.
Well, it's funny. He always, whenever he doesn't want to answer somebody's question, he'll be like, let me ask the boss.
So everybody, all the characters that listen to this will now know.
No. Absolutely.
He knows exactly what I'm going to say, but he wants me to say it.
So you're like the bad one. You're the mean cop.
Good cop, bad cop. Yeah,
that's so funny.
Definitely.
Any advice to other couples that start a business?
Stay in your lane. That was some advice that someone gave us early on. Just stay in your lane.
Do what you do best. And I know what Emery does best. He knows what I do best. And we know what we do best together. And that's just what we do, you know. Also,
people ask all day, do you cook? Are you making anything? I'm like, no, I'm out here, you know, just talking.
I was wondering, like, do you ever dabble in that?
A little bit, you know, I could scoop a cookie or two. But,
he was doing a lot more when we were doing farmers markets in terms of helping me prep.
Baker assistant.
But now, I mean, he doesn't even really have time with the amount of talking that he does. But it's important.
No, it is.
And that's important. And we recognize that. And I think, you know, we work well together because we understand each other. And we're both very empathetic people, so we understand where the other person's coming from a lot. And I think a lot of issues with couples sometimes come from not seeing the other person's point of view.
That's probably good advice to really think about it.
Yeah, definitely.
Well said. That was good.
I was like, she's the boss, so I'm glad you said that. So what's next for you guys with the restaurant? It's been 6 months. I've heard some little rumors of fun things that you might do.
Yeah, we want to start doing some more. We're kind of just figuring out how that's going to work in terms of actually getting it done. But
as in time and resources?
Time and resources, yeah. We definitely want to start doing something with dinner. So we have been talking about doing some dinner pickups. I mean, I'm already roasting off whole tri-tips, so why not say, you know, pick up a whole tri-tip and some of our roasted potatoes and a salad for dinner, you know, things that we already have.
Yeah.
But, you know, we can put it together as a meal for 4.
Are these just like ideas that you've seen around or that you just find interesting or that you've come up with? Like, how do you get inspired to come up with some of those like pickup dinners or?
A little bit of everything,
going,
you know?
Going out and checking out other restaurants and
seeing
just
what other people do. You know, we see all these pop-ups coming up now. So we're like, Emery's always like, well, you have a background in like actual French fine dining. So, you know, why can't we do a Saturday night, you know, totally different food, you know, 3-course meal. You know, there's some logistics about that we need to figure out. We really would love to be able to serve wine. We don't have a liquor license at the moment. So, you know, that might be something that we need to look at down the road.
Maybe.
But, yeah. So, yeah, it's a lot of just being aware of what's going on and just grabbing ideas that come at you. And I think there's a lot of different things that that we can do with this. You know, there's so I went to hospitality school. So when I wanted to open this up, I wrote a business plan, you know, and there is that end section that says, you know, future ideas. So, you know, there's a lot of other things that we kind of toy with. And
have you been following the business plan?
Pretty much. Yeah.
Wow. You guys are almost rare.
Yeah.
I've talked to so many people. They're like, I wrote one or I didn't know how to write one. So I just started. And
yeah. I started writing one like for myself probably at some point in college, and it evolved to something totally different. But I always wanted to have a business of my own.
Okay.
but I never really was sure what it was going to be until we figured that out. But I'm also very meticulous, and I follow recipes. So I follow business plans.
I was getting that, actually, hence the business plan.
Yeah.
We're all about her list and real strict to it.
And what about you, Emery? Are you the opposite of that?
Total opposite.
Do you like that kind of brainstorm, crowdsource idea, throw it on the wall, see if it sticks?
Yep, exactly. If it works out, it does. If not, move on to the next thing. And
does this go back to the things that you guys talked about, and that you mentioned this, that you got advice about stay in your own lane, where you guys know how you both work really well with that. So but you can still bring that to the table and share it, but you're the brainstormer in that way.
Definitely.
And you bring another quality of like, okay, let's make it real.
Yeah,
yes,
definitely.
Yeah, that's it. The craziness, and then she kind of
The craziness.
rounds it down,
wrangle you in a little bit, and say, okay, well, how can we make this a reality?
So he's the cat that you're hurting.
There you go, hurting the
Okay.
cats. Yeah. Well, sometimes he'll come up with these like, oh, let's do this as a special, and I'm like,
whoa,
and I'm like, wow, okay.
That sounds good, but you don't know what it makes.
But like,
takes to
are
make
you
it.
going to actually make it in 10 minutes? You know.
That's most of the time. That's what you say.
So yeah, I'm like, all right, well, we can take that idea, and this is how we can make it happen with what we already have.
Oh.
So
That's a great partnership. I'm glad that we talked about that too,
Yeah.
because that's actually that's a really hidden gem there. You're
Definitely.
using not just like the stay in your lane piece, but almost using your strengths on top of each other and trying to figure out how it works.
yeah, it definitely is.
Okay, well, again, this has been so great. I'm so glad that you guys took the time.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Thank
I
you
really
so much
do.
for inviting
It's been
us.
so much fun.
Oh, good.
Cool to be on the other end. Like I said, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and this is cool. It's a
That's
lot of fun,
great.
man. Thank you.
You're welcome. That's it for the episode. But hold on. Before you hit that stop button, here's a few more things you may not know about. Did you know I share other amazing stories, ideas, and creative spotlights each week? It's all to spark your imagination and power creativity. Just go to awesomefinds.info. That's AWESOMEFINDS.info to find out more and sign up. And it's, of course, all free. If you want original weekly articles that help you follow your passion, find your purpose, or to learn from other amazing people, check out the articles at accidentalinformation.com. If you want to share your feedback about this episode or the show, send us an email at info@accidentalinformation.com or call us at 1-707-347-9312. You can follow along with me and see behind the scenes of the show and my adventures. So come find me on Instagram and Twitter at @MeChristopher. That's MECHRISTOPHER. You can also follow along with Accidental Information on Instagram and Facebook at Accidental Information or on Twitter at Accidental Info. Lastly, if you love the show and want to help me out, I'd love it if you told a friend about the show. As in literally text someone or email it to them. I cannot tell you how awesome that would be. Also, writing a review for the show wherever you listen to podcasts helps in a really big way too. Thanks to everyone listening and joining me in my story. We'll talk again next week when we hear from another big, inspiring story.